progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. I don't know if you were watching television the other day when the United States Senate was grilling Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy. All you could do was sit there and really just observe and ask yourself the question, what is wrong with this guy? Well, he never lied to us. He told us exactly who he was before he accepted the responsibility of supporting Donald John Trump and becoming the Secretary of Health and Human Services in the United States. He is shredding the idea of public health. His attack on the CDC, his attack on health programs and health financing programs should give every single American a reason to pause. If America cannot build a more perfect union in terms of health and health equity, it is destined to be a separate and unequal system. By turning our nation's health over to the states, that's 50 different state systems, turning health care over to the cities, more than 20,000 different city systems, turning healthcare over to counties, more than 3,500 county-based healthcare systems. In such a system, some people, some groups are going to fall through the cracks. Dr. Nichelle Nichols, MD, MS, MBA, FAAFP, the Senior Vice President of Clinical Affairs, who leads Meharry's Medical College's clinical enterprise, is our very special guest this hour on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. She collaborates with the college's clinicians and oversees its graduate medical education programs. She directs efforts to advance health equity and reduce disparities among those in underserved communities. In her role, Dr. Nichols oversees Meharry's 6 residency programs within the School of Medicine, including programs in internal medicine, psychiatry, family medicine, preventative medicine, obstetrics, and gynecology and occupational medicine. She will serve as the college's designated institutional official for the Accreditation Council for Graduate Medical Education. Dr. Nichols, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation.
So honored to have you back on our program. Dr. Nichols, let me ask you a question. Can you give all of us your general sentiment on the nation's health?
So the sentiment right now is that we are all concerned, just like you mentioned earlier. We are concerned because we were in the pandemic. That was started in 2020. We were able to get out of it and start having normal lives. But unfortunately, there is the risk right now that we could go back to where we were before. All the progress that we made 5 years ago can all be erased because of some changes that will impact all of us. Those things that occurred last week are affecting who is able to get the COVID-19 vaccine. And we know that the COVID-19 vaccine was one of the things that allowed us to return back to close to normal. It decreased the amount of death, hospitalization, but all of that is at risk because so many people now have barriers so they cannot get the vaccine as it stands right now.
Dr. Nichols, when you say that millions of Americans will not have access to the COVID vaccine, it does not discount the fact that COVID is still with us. It is a virus that is constantly mutating, and we do need herd immunity in order to fight back the virus. Will COVID always be with us, Dr.
Well,
Nichols?
just like the flu, it is with us, right?
Mm.
And so right now, COVID-19 is surging again. It is becoming more prominent in every single state. So what you talked about was herd immunity. People right now, the recommendations previously were that you get the vaccine every year, just like they say with the flu. But right now, there are so many people that cannot get access. And later, I will talk about people that meet their criteria that can't even get access right now.
Is there any concern that the resurgence of the COVID as a result of this lack of coordination from a central authority, that its resurgence could be even more deadly or equally as deadly as the first introduction of COVID in our consciousness?
Most definitely, yes. That is a concern because the variations and the mutations that you talked about. So we don't know. It keeps changing, and we could go back to where we were or even worse.
Mm-mm-mm. And therefore, the most vulnerable, long before the COVID actually began making the news, when it began attacking the broader and general population, the most vulnerable, our elderly, the poor. Many of the notifications and warning signs showed up in these groups long before they did in the general population. Am I correct?
Correct.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show with one of the nation's foremost clinicians on vaccines in the United States. She's sounding an alarm bell that we should all be concerned about. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Dr. Nichols when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte. Let's preserve Black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from Black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, Black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of Black land lost before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling Black stories, there is resistance in remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic Black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandlost.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and that you don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
report to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. A very special guest in this hour is Dr. Michelle Nichols, who joined Meharry from Morehouse School of Medicine in Atlanta, Georgia, where she served as Associate Dean for Clinical Affairs, Medical Director for Morehouse Healthcare, a talented educator and advocate for health equity. Nichols worked on the front lines of the fight against COVID-19, directing the Morehouse School of Medicine, Morehouse College Community COVID-19 vaccination program in Atlanta, Georgia. In 2021, Nichols testified before the United States Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, hearing on vaccines, America's shot ending the COVID-19 pandemic. She was profiled by Becker's Hospital Review in its feature, 6 Black women who have been on the front lines of the fight against COVID-19. And I might add, Dr. Nichols, that's the exact same committee that drilled Secretary Kennedy just this past week. Some have even called for his resignation, including more than 1,000 CDC professionals, clinicians, scientists, doctors, and researchers who've said they've had just about enough of his approach to public health at the CDC. Your concerns about the lack of support that the Secretary of Health and Human Services is getting from the research and the clinical community.
So my concern is that we are not following the science, the data. So one of the things that is occurring when the FDA said that we recommend vaccines, COVID-19 vaccines, for people 65 years or older or with certain medical conditions, they didn't list what those medical conditions were. So my concern is now we're all confused about what to do. So the community, that's why the CDC brought this up, does not know what guidelines you follow. We do not know who is at risk, who is not at risk. We don't know. So it's affecting the consumers. It is affecting the health care system. Pharmacies don't know who to give the vaccine to and who not to. So if you limit what pharmacies can do, you now are limiting access. And that's the real problem. People now don't have access like they did before. And also insurance companies. They don't know, do you pay for it? Do you not pay for it? So there's a whole bunch of issues that are a concern. And one of the things that occurs, for instance, before healthcare workers could get the vaccine, I am not able to get a vaccine right now. I was one of these people that was that advocated, that spoke before the health committee, but I am not, I am underage technically for getting the vaccine. I don't have the conditions that work for it. So therefore it has limited. So you have your healthcare workers, frontline people who majority can't even get the vaccine. Furthermore, even if you meet the guidelines, I had a family member yesterday who is over 65, try to get the vaccine at one of the large pharmacies. They said, unfortunately, we can't do it because we need a prescription. And he said, well, I meet the guidelines. They said, well, we need for you to go to a doctor. So that is also limiting access because now you have to find a doctor to write a prescription for you so you can go. Another example is I watched the news yesterday. Someone in California, a lady who's in her 70s said, I was able to get the vaccine, but I had to pay $200. The vaccine costs around $225. That's also limiting access. Many people can't afford that. So now we're creating the haves and the have-nots again. So these are my concerns.
You know, Doc, I was on top of the national problem, the lack of coordination, the fact that the Secretary of Health and Human Services is not a clinician, not a medical doctor, has never performed medical research, and is over an agency with some of the most well-equipped, most thoughtful, most studied, most research-driven employees in the federal government. And the idea that they are losing confidence in the head of their agency in terms of someone who has no knowledge of what it is that they do, again, you are sounding an alarm bell that we should all be profoundly concerned about. And if I can just pivot to something I saw on the news myself, I think it was just yesterday. The Surgeon General for the state of Florida, who is a medical professional, I heard some of the most ignorant analysis I have ever heard out of the mouth of a physician just yesterday. Um, in the state of Florida, he has now taken a laissez-faire approach to the idea of vaccines at a time when we are now looking at increased incidences of measles and other communicable kinds of diseases. He's making political uh, freedom, libertarian arguments that vaccines overall should not be mandatory, that they are really driven by choice. And to make this statement for all Floridians, indeed, you know what? Let me just say it this way. If there's an outbreak in Florida, it's not going to stay in Florida, Americans. It's going to move from Florida to Georgia to South Carolina. It's going to land at O'Hare Airport. It's just a matter of time before it shows up at LAX. It's just a matter of time before it shows up in San Francisco. So the idea that there is no national coordination, that this is a rush to the bottom where surgeon generals at the state level can make determinations at this level, again, Dr. Nichols, has to be profoundly disconcerting for health professionals like yourself.
Yes, I was very shocked, particularly as that was coming from another clinician, because you're absolutely right. Look at what's happened with measles. It started off in Texas, and we start seeing increased incidence of measles that was pretty much wiped out for the last 20 years. Then you start seeing deaths. People do die from measles for also. Mm-hmm. And then if that mandate is doing it and that children do not get their measles vaccines, their MMR, then it's not going to be limited to Florida. Plus, you have to look at policies that go on from other states. If one state does it, other people do it. But people travel all over. That is how we end up getting different viruses spread from other countries. When they come over to whatever, you start getting that. So all of this is a concern, and all the progress we have made will just be vanished. And then you look at, besides measles, what happens if you say you don't need polio anymore? Then what's going to happen? You'll start seeing polio. Right now, what happens if you say that all the other vaccines, because people are saying it's not necessary? So there needs to be some type of recommendations, and we cannot go off the script and decide that this is what we're going to do. So that is why we're all right now waiting with bated breath, trying to figure out what's going to happen next week, because next week the advisory council committee for vaccines meets. So we'll find out what their recommendations are as far as COVID-19. But this is a concern. As physicians, as clinicians, as any type of healthcare provider, we have to follow the science and what the science says.
I've been reading a number of articles that have been appearing in, well, I don't want to call it the dark web, but certainly I've heard testimony in the Congress of the United States and in the Senate. And I want to share this word with our listeners. Eugenics. The study of how to arrange reproduction within a human population to increase the occurrence of heritable characteristics regarded as desirable. Developed by Sir Francis Galton as a method of improving the human race, eugenics was increasingly discredited as unscientific and racially biased during the 20th century, especially after the adoption of the doctrines by the Nazis in order to justify their treatment of Jews, disabled people, and other minority groups. Doc, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I try to come with the straight facts as best I possibly can. But there are a number of forces that are coming together that certainly suggest that America could even be engaged in some kind of national thinning experiment. That is, we're exporting and deporting Latin Americans, our Venezuelan brothers and sisters, back to other parts of the country. We're talking about opening up prisons in Uganda. We're looking at the oppression on a scale that we've never seen in some of our local municipalities. DC, Los Angeles, the city of Chicago is under threat of a major occupation. It just feels like there are certain forces now convening in the health department that are working against national health and working more in the direction of heritable characteristics.
That is concerning. I deal with the science and the data, but it's concerning. You can look at the data. And let me go back to like COVID-19. When COVID-19, the people that were impacted the most there were people of color. It decreased the life expectancy of African Americans by about 3 years. It decreased the life of Hispanic population again about 3 years. For non-people of color, it was about 1 year. So if you are taking things away and limiting access for people in the healthcare, regardless if it's COVID-19, if it's vaccines, any like measles vaccines, any type of thing, then you are going to hurt the underserved the most. And so if you decrease that population, then you do have that this is a possibility. That is why it's so important that we increase our access for everyone, so everyone has the opportunity, if they want it, to get whatever vaccine they want to, that they get whatever medical treatment they want, because you don't want it so that, yes, it could occur. But like I said, I deal with science. The science says this is what you do. That's why it's so important that we as healthcare leaders and providers go by what the science says and the data.
Dr. Nichols, let's talk about closed spaces for a moment. How much of an increase, and I'm going towards the economy with this question, how much of an increase am I at risk by flying on a plane with someone who is unvaccinated? I'm on the plane for an hour, hour and a half with someone who may be sitting right next to me who has not been vaccinated with a very serious virus that is spreading in the United States. Should we be concerned about our proximity to our neighbors and to people?
Most definitely. I was on a plane just this weekend. I had my face mask on because I needed to protect myself. Also, I needed to protect, I have loved ones who are immunocompromised, who are elderly. I needed to protect them. So we are very much so, because it's a tight, enclosed space, whether or not you're on the airplane, if you're on the subway, you need to protect yourself, because we know that these are transmitted, because they're airborne. So therefore, if you're dealing with something and someone's coughing beside you, even if they aren't coughing, they are close enough to in your vicinity, in your space, that you need to be concerned. So that's why I tell people right now, the numbers are going up. So you need to start thinking about putting your face mask. I know the state of California was saying that to various people, but there is a concern right now.
Dr. Nichols, why have we not heard more about this on the news? Why have we not heard, well, I guess I already know the answer. Our public health officials are not showing leadership on the question. Dr. Nichols?
Yes, we've had a lot of changes recently in our whole public health officials. We've had a turnover in the CDC, more than once recently. We've had a turnover for the people for the advisory council for vaccine, for the immunization practice. There's a whole new crew of people. There's 17 people typically, but now it's a whole new set of people. So with this amount of turnover, there has been very little direction given. And so that leads to what I'm saying is misinformation and confusion about what to do and what guidelines to follow.
So much of American life has not recovered from the COVID period. Our churches, our pews have really not returned to what was pre-COVID level church attendance. A lot of events that we normally attend increasingly are sporadic in terms of people who are in attendance. We have found ways now to communicate by way of social media, by way of various platforms. We're losing contact with our neighbors. I know we have just a couple of minutes before we come forward. There are mental effects and psychiatric effects for the population in our lack of ability to actually touch human hands and being in the presence of other people. Can you share some of those with us in terms of our social skills?
Yes, you have a very good point. One of the things that really brought to the forefront, and we learned this with the pandemic with COVID-19, mental health. People need that connectivity that you have. We also saw it with our children. When you look at the education, because when they went from being in person to more remote, then you start seeing the scores drop for the kids. They were starting to recover, but unfortunately, we might end up going back again. That's important. Human touch, being present, going to different, like I said, church and social events. That is very important for our own well-being, and that's what we need to focus on: is mental health, your well-being. And so, therefore, right now, we are potentially at risk. We got to see what happens next week, but we're at risk of going back to where we were, and we haven't recovered. Like I said, the children are just now starting to see a little slight uptick with their scores again. We're starting to see where people are more comfortable going to sporting events. But you're right, most places like churches, a lot of people are still afraid to go out. A lot of people are afraid to go out anywhere, particularly a lot of the elderly.
You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Tenacious Tuesdays. Our very special guest in the first hour is Dr. Michelle Nichols, Vice President of Clinical Affairs at Meharry Medical College's Clinical Enterprise, collaborating with the college's clinicians and overseeing the graduate medical education programs. We're so grateful, Dr. Nichols, that you're joining us. When we come forward, more with Dr. Michelle Nichols on KBLA Talk 1580.
The biggest names, the best conversations. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The Supreme Court is allowing immigration stops in Los Angeles to continue. Monday's ruling reinstates arrests from roving patrols despite a lower court finding people were targeted by race and language.
We will not allow the Supreme Court or anyone to divide us.
Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass and California Governor Gavin Newsom are pushing back, while Homeland Security says it will, quote, flood the zone, end quote, in Los Angeles. Rapper turned podcaster Joe Budden is listed as a possible witness in Megan Thee Stallion's upcoming defamation trial. Blogger Milagro Grams is accused of spreading false stories about Megan during Tory Lanez 2022 trial. The case is set to begin November 17th. And Washington, D.C. is easing beauty industry licensing rules. Black D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser's new Fast Beauty initiative will cut unnecessary training hours for cosmetology and barbering professionals. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The LA Sparks are facing a must-win situation tonight in Phoenix against the Mercury in the WNBA. They have to win, and the Seattle Storm must lose tonight at home against Golden State. If Seattle beats Golden State, the Sparks will miss the playoffs for the fourth straight year. The Sparks are a game and a half behind Seattle for the eighth and final playoff spot. Grambling has the distinction of being the HBCU team that played in front of the largest crowd Saturday in week 2 of the college football season. Grambling was at number 1 Ohio State, a game that drew 100,624 fans. Grambling lost the game 70-0, but went back to their Louisiana campus with a $1 million check for their percentage of the gate revenues. Number 2 on the attendance list was South Carolina State at South Carolina. That game drew 79,705. South Carolina State lost 38-10, but got a check for $500,000. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part, they accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right. So we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2025 Nielsen report.
Hi, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. inviting you to join me weekdays at 12 noon, right after Tavis Smiley, here on KBLA Talk 1580. As a law school graduate and a theologian with a firm grasp of our body politic given almost 2 decades in Congress, my show is the fresh new home of an authentic, uncompromised quest for transformation and salvation, both personal and collectively, as I vigorously interrogate the theological and symbolic meanings embedded in our society. I promise to leverage my knowledge of history, theology, and both international and domestic issues to imagine an inclusive vision for the future, which I hope will inspire all of us to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as a given, not just an aspiration. So join me weekdays at 12 noon, right after Tavis Smiley, for 2 hours of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement. Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number biggest sale of the year. All beds on sale, up to 50% off the limited edition smart bed. Plus free premium delivery with any smart bed and adjustable base. Ends Labor Day. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour has been Dr. Michelle Nichols. She is a senior clinician. She is a very serious medical professional who is sounding the alarm bells for us today about the expansion of COVID, about the Secretary of Health and Human Services behavior, CDC members, clinicians, and others writing a letter to the Secretary of Health and Human Services calling upon his resignation, with more than 1,000 signatures from clinicians suggesting that the nation's health itself is under attack. And just before I bring Dr. Nichols back, I wanted to remind everyone that there are diseases that get on planes all over the world that end up in our nation's airports every single day. And as the Secretary of Health and Human Services and the Trump administration dismantles this health infrastructure, it can end up easily on the streets of the city of Chicago. Dr. Nichols, I'm begging your pardon for just a moment. City Councilman Lamont Robinson from the city of Chicago is also calling in right now this week because of the infiltration of federal troops in the city of Chicago and ICE enforcement, which is spreading as a result of a Supreme Court decision that was favorable to the president's policy. They're expanding ICE raids, if you will, in Los Angeles, California, and in the city of Chicago. I'm particularly honored in this segment for this moment to welcome Alderman Lamont Robinson to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Alderman Robinson, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Alderman? In the interim, let me welcome Dr. Michelle Nichols back to the program. Dr. Nichols, thank you for being on the program. Your concerns, while we wait for Alderman Robinson, your concerns about airborne viruses, diseases, in light of the dismantling of USAID and our international infrastructure for vaccines that could end up very well here in the United States.
Well, yeah, that is definitely a concern, and what you mentioned early with the alderman for Chicago. I do want to commend the state of Illinois for putting together an advisory board so they can make their own policies to protect those that are in Chicago or in the Illinois area. So I do want to commend the efforts that the leaders in Illinois are going through at this point.
USAID, United States Agency for International Development, not only fed poor people around the world with less than 1% of 1% of the federal budget, it was also responsible for the vaccination of literally millions of people around the world. Your concern with some illness, some disease that could make itself to the United States because that infrastructure now no longer exists.
There's a lot of potential diseases. I mean, you look right now, there's such thing as the screwworm that is coming around, and that is a type of parasite that came from somewhere else. So there's so many potential for illnesses. We look at COVID-19. Remember, it didn't start here. It started over supposedly in China. So we have to look at the potential because we travel and we are worldwide. There is always potential that any kind of disease can come into the United States or can go from the East Coast to the West Coast. So there's always that potential.
I do believe that Alderman Robinson is now in studio with us. Alderman Robinson, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Alderman? Okay. Dr. Nichols, I do apologize for that. I'm trying to give Chicago officials an opportunity to give us a current update on what's taking place across the city as the city itself experiences for the first time a massive federal presence. And so sometimes we have these aldermen for a moment, and then sometimes they are suddenly very, very busy. I expect Alderman Robinson to join us at some point in time. Dr. Nichols, back to you. Let me ask you another question about specifically Medicaid, the absence of funding for Medicaid with the big, so-called big, beautiful bill, and what it also means for the poor and the dismantling of basic infrastructural services in the realm of health for the poor without that insurance program.
So that's a huge concern because of the dismantling or decreasing the amount of funding that you get through Medicaid and or Medicare affects, again, access to care. And so therefore, the people who are the most vulnerable might be unable to get the necessary care that they need. Also, you look at the effect that it has for supplemental food, so under that program. So you're affecting two groups of people. With the Medicaid population, you're dealing with pregnant and women and children. And then for Medicare, you're usually dealing with the elderly or people who have disabilities. And so therefore you're now limiting what they can do for access. You're also decreasing the amount of funding that different hospital systems are able to do, which results in cuts, which means that we already are in a healthcare crisis, a physician shortage. You might have less people available then to take care of you as well.
Dr. Nichols, we can count on these cuts profoundly impacting urban areas, but the MAGA base in rural areas are going to experience pain associated with these cuts as well. Am I correct?
Correct. That's what people keep forgetting. It is not just the inner cities that are affected, rural. A lot of rural hospitals are having to close down now. So therefore, you're limiting your access to everyone. So not just your bigger cities, your suburban, your urban areas, but your rural areas probably are going to be most impacted by this.
In this moment, Dr. Nichols, we are being joined by Alderman Lamont Robinson. Alderman Robinson, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Congressman, thank you for allowing me the opportunity, and hello to your viewers and listeners.
Thank you. I think we have them both on our program. Alderman Robinson, Dr. Nichols has been joining us, and we've been talking about health across our country as a result of some cuts and the hearing that took place in the United States Senate. We have about a minute before we come forward. That's a minute before our break. Can you give us your thoughts on what the expansion of federal authority in the city of Chicago represents at this hour and what you're experiencing?
What it represents is a overreach and power at the federal level. This is not warranted. It is not needed. What we need, Congressman, and to your guest, is we need resources. We need more teachers. We need more resources for anti-violence programs. We need more resources, for our parks and our recreational centers. Violence is going down in Chicago, and we need resources to continue that trend. That is what we need. We don't need troops. We need support, Congressman.
I certainly appreciate that, and I certainly agree and identify with that point of view. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. In this hour, Dr. Michelle Nichols has been sharing with us the health concerns about diseases that are expanding in the United States. And hopefully, Alderman Lamont Robinson will be with us in the next segment for the purposes of what is taking place with the massive intervention of federal authority in the city of Chicago by Donald John Trump. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Listening to KBLA Talk 1580 when we come back.
Are you stuck in traffic? We can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least likely to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Thinking about going electric? Now is the perfect time. Electric vehicles cost less to run, don't need gas, and need fewer repairs than gas-powered cars. You can also save with federal and state tax credits, and in some areas, qualify for rebates on home charging stations. To learn more, visit www.breathesocal.org. That's www.breathesocal.org.
If you're an African American mom who is pregnant or have a baby under 6 months old, you deserve care that lifts, listens, and lasts. Black Infant Health is for you. It's a free program with individual support, group sessions, and resources to start your mothering journey. BIH makes space for moms and their families to create community. Learn more about the programs in Los Angeles County. Check us out at blackinfanthealth.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions.
LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LAC-JCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do you do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail, because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Dr. Renee here. Did you know this time of year is considered peak asthma season because we typically see a spike in asthma-related hospitalizations? If you have asthma and are having difficulty breathing despite medication, it's time to check in with your doctor so you can help avoid landing yourself in the hospital this season. To learn more about managing your asthma, visit www.luma-edu.com. That's LUMA-edu.com. This message is brought to you by Amgen and AstraZeneca.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our guest in this hour has been Dr. Michelle Nichols, MD, Academic and Clinical Affairs Executive Leader, Graduate Medical Education, Health Equity Champion, Strategy and Accreditation and Program Expansion Leader, as well as one of Chicago's up-and-coming best and brightest aldermen, certainly one of the most thoughtful, who I'm honored to have on my program, Alderman Lamont Robinson. Lamont, Dr. Nichols, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you.
A lot of things are coming together in my mind during this break, and I'm trying to put it all together, some of which was prompted by my executive producer, Gina Towns, and it's this. I saw the governor of our state, who I thought handled himself very well before the Senate, when Byron Donalds was questioning and challenging him on the question of spending Medicaid funding on the immigrant population that was sent here in a kind of reverse freedom rides by DeSantis and Abbott from Texas, sent them to Chicago, unvaccinated, without Medicaid to provide them with the kind of services that they need that include the administration of the COVID vaccine. And now we have an environment where we're discouraging them, or the environment itself is discouraging them from even showing up in this public health space. You add to that the presence of troops from Texas and Alabama and Mississippi who are coming here, and we don't know whether or not they're vaccinated at a time when Dr. Nichols says the COVID is on the increase and the uptick. Dr. Nichols, is Chicago ripe to be some kind of super spreader if we're not very careful?
Yes, not only Chicago, but everywhere is at risk of being a super spreader location, because you have this influx of people that are coming in. School is back in so that there's more infections and viruses going around. So we are really just causing things to get worse. And then there's the vaccine limitations that are going on right now that prevent people who need it the most from getting these vaccines. So yes, we are at risk everywhere of potential going back to the way we were.
Alderman Lamont Robinson, can you share with us the anxiety that you're hearing from your constituents about the federal presence? I think you stated it very well and articulately about what we really need to fight crime in the city of Chicago. But as you know, as well as I do, this started out as immigration enforcement, and now it's all the way over here at I'm going to stop crime, which could very well bring it right to everyone's front door in the city of Chicago.
I think that it's important to really share what's happening in real time, Congressman. I received a call 2 days ago from restaurant owners on the north end of my ward in the South Loop that ICE agents had come into their restaurants. And that is an issue for a myriad different reasons, for the restaurant owners, the patrons, as well as the workers. And they did not give any clear information.
KBLA 15.
To share why they were there. And so this is a problem on a lot of different levels. And unfortunately, it's a problem that we cannot control right now. And that is why we have to prepare ourselves. But even in preparing ourselves, Congressman, it's hard to prepare for something that you don't know what is going to happen. And that's what's happening in Chicago, not only in my ward, but across the entire city.
Alderman, one of my concerns, and I'm sure you have to struggle with this, we're looking at real life scenarios here. I know they've experienced them in Los Angeles where parents drop their children off at school. And by the time the school day is over, there are parents who may not be coming to pick up their kids because their parents suddenly are no longer there or they have been disappeared by this process. Does the city of Chicago have any plans, contingency plans for parents who are separated from their children and what we do in the interim? And is there something we can learn in other cities around the country from Chicago's preparation?
Congressman, that is a great question where families are being separated. I will give some really positive remarks for Chicago Public Schools that have been working with principals as well as educators to make sure that parents understand what their rights are and the principals and educators are also aware of who to call if in fact that does happen. And so in the city of Chicago, we are prepared for this. This is just not started. We've had these incidents for the last 2 or 3 years now. And unfortunately, although it is heartbreaking that we are prepared in the situation that this does happen in the city of Chicago. Department of Housing, Chicago Public Schools, other city officials, the mayor's office, we are all working together to make sure that if this does happen, that we are prepared to make sure that that child is going to be safe. It is absolutely heartbreaking that this is happening, but I will tell you as a city official that we are prepared as much as we can be.
You know, Alderman, I hate that our city is in the news for this. I mean, I hate the idea that this was not handled in Texas, that this was not handled in Florida, that these reverse freedom rides, and for those of you who may not remember what the reverse freedom rides were, Dr. Nichols, it was promises made by Southern governors that if they got on buses and went and knocked on the Kennedys' doors in Massachusetts, the Kennedys had a job for them. So Black people would get on buses, put on their Sunday's best, ride for 3 or 4 days to get to Boston, Massachusetts. They would show up at the Kennedys' home and other Northern liberal officials' homes, seeking the promises that they were told by Southern governors. And when they get there were no jobs, no provisions, no expectations that they were even coming. And here in the city of Chicago, we have been dealt a blow that has now welcomed the federal intervention because we assumed the responsibility of our neighbors, that these people are not illegal, but that they are human beings and they ought to be treated with respect until such time as they are processed appropriately by the U.S. government. I just have to express, first of all, my love for my city, but what is being visited upon us is not something that should have been visited upon us in the first place. Dr. Nichols, I guess that's a political concern, but I'd certainly like to hear your thoughts on it.
Well, you know what the alderman said earlier. He said it is hard to prepare what you do not know when you don't know what will happen. And so that is really a key point with whatever area you're in, whether you're in healthcare, whether you are a person that comes here to this country in hopes of finding a better life. All of that is important. So my thoughts, in Georgia, this happened was it last week with the Hyundai? I mean, the same thing happened where you had 450 people that are in the same situation. So that's why I said you cannot prepare what you don't know what will happen, but we need to make ourselves to keep ourselves informed and to involve our legislators and our Congress people so that we can be informed and that we can look out for each other so that we can provide what was thought of a long time ago, that this was the place that everyone was welcome to come to.
Dr. Nichols, I can't thank you enough for joining us on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I really enjoyed it, and thanks so much.
You're always welcome back, and I certainly look forward to being here. And by the way, you too are welcome to hang around for another segment or so in the next hour if you'd like. And Alderman Lamont Robinson is going to be with us when we come forward on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We'll be with Tenacious Tuesdays, Barbara Arnwine, in just a moment.
80 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The Supreme Court is allowing immigration stops in Los Angeles to continue. Monday's ruling reinstates arrests from roving patrols despite a lower court finding people were targeted by race and language.
We will not allow the Supreme Court or anyone to divide us.
Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass and California Governor Gavin Newsom are pushing back, while Homeland Security says it will, quote, flood the zone, end quote, in Los Angeles. Rapper turned podcaster Joe Budden is listed as a possible witness in Megan Thee Stallion's upcoming defamation trial. Blogger Milagro Grams is accused of spreading false stories about Megan during Tory Lanez 2022 trial. The case is set to begin November 17th. And Washington, D.C. is easing beauty industry licensing rules. Black D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser's new Fast Beauty initiative will cut unnecessary training hours for cosmetology and barbering professionals. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The LA Sparks are facing a must-win situation tonight in Phoenix against the Mercury in the WNBA. They have to win, and the Seattle Storm must lose tonight at home against Golden State. If Seattle beats Golden State, the Sparks will miss the playoffs for the fourth straight year. The Sparks are a game and a half behind Seattle for the eighth and final playoff spot. Grambling has the distinction of being the HBCU team that played in front of the largest crowd Saturday in week 2 of the college football season. Grambling was at number 1 Ohio State, a game that drew 100,624 fans. Grambling lost the game 70-0, but went back to their Louisiana campus with a $1 million check for their percentage of the gate revenues. Number 2 on the attendance list was South Carolina State at South Carolina. That game drew 79,705. South Carolina State lost 38-10, but got a check for $500,000. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With work workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is our second hour on Tenacious Tuesdays, where we are joined regularly by one of our most exciting co-hosts, Barbara Arnwine Esquire, the president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition. She is internationally renowned for her contributions on critical justice issues, including the passage of the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1991 and the 2006 reauthorization provisions of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Barbara, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you for having me back. It's an honor to be here.
Are you kidding? I'm honored to be on this show with you. Barbara, listen, we've got 2 very exciting guests who are joining us for part of this hour, and they're welcome to hang around as long as they'd like. First, Dr. Michelle Nichols is the Senior Vice President of Clinical Affairs at Meharry Medical College.
Nice.
Also very much engaged and concerned, sounding an alarm bell on the spikes in the COVID vaccine, the RFK hearing, which was a disaster before the Senate just the other day, and a number of critical health issues. And she has agreed to hang with us for a minute on Tenacious Tuesdays. And also Alderman Lamont Robinson, one of Chicago's best and brightest, who finds himself at this hour managing not only his responsibilities as an alderman, but also exerting extraordinary leadership right now in the city of Chicago, along with the mayor and others who are profoundly concerned about what is taking place with these expanded ICE raids after the Supreme Court of the United States just yesterday, or within the last 24 hours, gave the president a go-ahead to expand that authority. Dr. Nichols and Alderman Robinson, this is Attorney Barbara Arnwine.
Hi, everyone.
Hi there.
Hi.
Barbara, why don't we start with you? Barbara, what do these ICE raids signify to you and the ramping up of federal authority at this hour?
Lawlessness and an absolute disrespect for the sovereignty of states, the jurisdiction of cities, and it's all a distraction, right? None of this, surge is critical to our economy. While our economy is sinking, the more people they throw out, the worse the economy is doing. 22,000 jobs in a whole quarter, people. That's a disaster. Let's be honest. And so to keep people's minds off of what's going on, the Epstein files, all the rest of it, he's just running around invading, states and cities and beating up on Black people, which is always, a winning tab, with some of his folks. So he's just trying to distract and keep people's attention from the fact that they aren't doing well. Inflation's out of control. That his tariffs have been a unilateral disaster. His so-called foreign policy. Now you got Israel, bombing, Qatar. Are you kidding me? I mean, come on. I mean, this is a time where, he's at a nadir, a low point, to put it mildly. And so he's going to do 2 stupid things. One is continue to support, RFK, although, he tried to distance himself a little bit the other day. None of us missed that, did we, Dr. Nichols?
We sure didn't.
We didn't miss that. And even though he tried to, try to, deny, his little drawing of the naked woman, in the Epstein files. I mean, come on. Oh, and then to talk about what? Oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. The whole thing about if there's a domestic dispute, when you're talking about crime, he doesn't want domestic violence included in the statistics, because that's just what he said. The man having a problem with his little wife. I mean, come on, folks. I mean, we are very, very necessarily, fighting back in this moment. And I'm so glad that we're talking about the vaccines because I can't, imagine anything more deadly, more dangerous to our community. Who died disproportionately when we were dealing with Generation Alpha of this madness? Who has suffered the most from this whole vaccine denial and racist lack of access? I mean, so it's critical to us that we take up these issues. It's critical to us that we in Chicago resist like hell. I've been talking with Free DC today and talking with, people about what Chicago needs to learn from what Free DC has had to do here in the Washington, D.C. area, and everything that we've learned from L.A. So I just want everybody to be clear that all of this is connected. None of this is disconnected.
Let me ask the Alderman a question, because I know we come forward in about a minute and 15 seconds. Alderman, I think the mayor gets this, but do members of the city council understand that the entire nation is watching how Chicago handles this moment and what it means to the resistance and democracy itself?
I will say overwhelmingly that many of my colleagues are fully aware. We certainly have some of my colleagues that I believe is just as clueless as the person that sits in the White House. But overwhelmingly, the majority of my colleagues do understand that we are being watched and we are setting the stage for other cities. And you mentioned that you mentioned that the mayor does get it, and he is doing everything in his power to fight back from what we're seeing as an overreach from Washington, D.C., from the president. And so the answer, Congressman, is absolutely yes. And I'm happy that, again, we have a mayor that gets it, and overwhelmingly, many of my colleagues get it as well.
I think you guys are showing extraordinary leadership. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is Tenacious Tuesdays with Barbara Arnwine. Our very special guests are Dr. Michelle Nichols and Alderman Lamont Robinson from the city of Chicago. When we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580, more with our very special guests on Tenacious Tuesdays.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte. Let's preserve Black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from Black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, Black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of Black land loss before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling Black stories, there is resistance in remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic Black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandloss.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-550-9651. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at tra.com or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651. Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest on Tenacious Tuesdays is always the president of the Transformative Justice Coalition, attorney Barbara Arnwine. Barbara, welcome forward to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Also, our very special guests in this hour include Dr. Michelle Nichols. She is a clinician, that's correct, an MD, and she has worked at Meharry School of Medicine. She's also worked at Morehouse School of Medicine, and she's sounding an alarm bell for all of us on the lack of coordination at the CDC and the Department of Health and Human Services under the leadership of RFK. I want to come right back to that, Barbara, because I do want you to engage Dr. Nichols on this question. And Alderman Lamont Robinson is sharing us some on-the-ground realities in the city of Chicago in light of the resistance and leadership that he continues to show, and, of course, the mayor of the city of Chicago. Everyone, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Barbara, I'm not totally convinced, and I'm certainly, after having listened in the last hour to Dr. Michelle Nichols, that, one, RFK Jr. has any idea what he's doing, and that the consequences of his preconceived notions of public health that he is now imposing on the entire nation by fiat or just willful ignorance is so deeply troubling that I want Dr. Nichols, if she doesn't mind, to just kind of recap for us what this hour means in the history of coordinated health.
So there's a lot of concerns here. You know, the current Secretary of Health and Human Services, he presented before the Health Committee his ideas on what we should do with the vaccine, which is in stark contrast to what I did 4 years ago when I presented testified before the Health Committee. We were talking about how important it is for vaccines, for COVID-19 vaccines, to give us a shot at trying to end the pandemic. We are now, with the new guidelines, potentially going to reverse everything and go back into another pandemic, that we are at risk for that. The other thing is, there was what the president did under his first administration with the Operation Warp Speed, where you took and you brought in and said, we're going to quickly bring out vaccines, go into research and do the data. So now all of that is being reversed because we had experts in the area now. And unfortunately, right now, there has been a lot of change in administration. So we are risking everything with the health of our children, the health of our seniors, the health of those that are most vulnerable, to the health of those who are people of color who attorney brought out so eloquently. We went back. We are at fear of losing everything that happened. We're the ones who are impacted most by these barriers that are being put forth. It is going to impact the people of color the most. Also, it is going to impact what we talked about earlier, rural people. It's going to affect the people that you didn't think would be impacted, but they're already being impacted, or those who are in the rural populations. So it's just everyone who I say is underserved. So we really do need to take control of our health. We need to follow the science, and we need to follow the data, because we have everything we need. We just need to follow it and get leaders and experts who have lived it and know, and this is what they train for.
Barbara?
Yes. Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Nichols. I am so worried. Now, one thing I always talk about, nobody wants to hear, is that some of this is incompetence, but some of this is beyond incompetence. Some of this is deliberate hate, and that they actually want people to die. There was a powerful article written in the Atlantic last week after the Surgeon General in Florida declared that they were not going to support, children being vaccinated. And what the article says is that Florida wants its children to die. And I have been saying over and over that we got to understand that in this administration right now, there are a lot of eugenicists who are dysgenics people, and they believe in their hearts and in their souls that all people of color are genetically inferior. And they believe that a good portion of white people are genetically inferior. And where do you find those white people who they think are genetically inferior? Poor, in poverty, homeless, or in rural areas. This is not, folks, the incompetence and ignorance that it appears to be. Some of this is deliberate. They want to reduce the population in this country and in the world. People come up to me all the time, as you know, saying, why did they withhold aid to all these countries when millions of people are going to die? And I said, because they want them to die. You don't understand where these people's heads are. Their answer to unemployment, their answer to roboticism, their answer to this whole AI future and less job future is get rid of the population.
Barbara, let me ask this question.
I mean, come on. I know it sounds harsh,
Barbara,
but I'm telling you what they believe.
Barbara, I want our listeners to completely understand, and certainly our guests, that I did not discuss eugenics with Barbara before the show. I read the definition of eugenics, and I'm telling you, I said, this just sounds, I don't want to be conspiratorial. And then out of nowhere, unless Barbara was listening to the first hour of the show, she starts talking about exactly what I was talking with Dr. Nichols about. And then you have these islands of people who are doing it right. Dr. Nichols, you credited the city of Chicago, you credited Alderman Robinson and others, because in the context of what Barbara just highlighted for us, you said the city of Chicago, the governor and the mayor of the city of Chicago in terms of health are actually doing it right.
They are. And that they are to be commended. They are setting up experts, getting advisory boards to come and then give the guidelines that you need for the city and the state. So I commend what Chicago is doing, and I would hope that other states will follow suit and that other cities will do the same, because it is absolutely important, because we do not want to have it so that we lose any more people than we did 4 and 5 years ago. And we really do need, because we're supposed to be the greatest country in the world, but we cannot do this unless we follow the science.
Alderman Robinson?
Dr. Nichols, first of all, thank you very much for not only the work that you're doing, but supporting the hardworking folks that are doing the work on the ground in the city of Chicago. But Congressman, truth be told, we are not an island. we can get it right. But if folks are coming into our city, we have to figure out not only ways to protect ourselves, but to protect everybody. And that's why we are a city that is open to everybody, and we will continue to be. But my hope is that, as you've mentioned, and Dr. Nichols has mentioned, we have to be able to set the standard for other states to do right and to protect people. And that's not happening across the United States.
Dr. Nichols and I in the first hour were actually talking about how it just takes one person coming in from one location with the measles or the mumps or something that we should have been able to polio, end up in any public restroom in this city or in any given city, and before you know it, we have some kind of outbreak or some kind of spread of disease. And so on this question of public health, Alderman, the idea of building a more perfect union for people who visit this city, who take advantage of all that is Chicago, including the National Guard that's coming in from various states and bringing whatever it is they're bringing in here, including their unvaccinated attitudes, they can really do great harm to a decently and well-organized healthcare system here in our own city. Do you agree with that, Alderman?
I agree with it. And the other piece of the puzzle is that we, as we go through the budget process, have to make sure that there are no cuts. Cuts are coming from the federal government. And so we have to look internally on how we're going to make sure that we continue to provide quality health care at the city and the county level. And it is extremely tough as we're seeing headways in Washington, D.C. And so again, as someone that is going through the budget process right now, we're having to really look at our budget in totality to make sure that we're not cutting in areas that are going to put us in a precarious situation.
Barbara, can I just share with you one other dynamic about these federal interventions? All of this negative news about our city, which I didn't appreciate. I don't think that's my microphone that's doing that. But, you're scaring people the hell away from our cities. These cities survive off of tourists, off of shows, off of conventions. You're scaring people away from our cities. And what the alderman said is there is an adverse impact on their budgets when the burden is now shifted from the conventions and the visitors and people who visit our cities, when it is then carried overwhelmingly by property tax owners and sales taxes, because no one came to Chicago, because the person with the pulpit wasn't advertising our city in a positive light, but essentially telling the world, don't go to Chicago, don't go to Los Angeles, don't come to Washington, D.C., essentially stripping these cities of their ability to fight back. Barbara?
And it's showing, folks, like I was saying, this economy is in the tank. I mean, come on, folks. Tourism is down by billions of dollars in the United States. Billions. That's because he is telling folks that all these cities they love to visit, New Orleans, Chicago, Washington, D.C. He's telling them all, San Francisco, Los Angeles. He's telling everybody that these cities are crime-ridden and that they're dangerous. So dangerous that he's got to have armed troops running around in them. How do you think a tourist is going to respond to that? I mean, sometimes I wonder, if I were Vladimir Putin and I wanted to destroy the U.S. economy, this is what I would do, right? If I wanted to destroy the U.S. economy, I would come up with some stupid tariffs, right? I mean, it's just like, what is he doing and why is he doing it? He could be this ignorant, this racist, this self-obsessed, this scared of the Epstein files and all the rest of it that he wants to distract people. But there's something else going down, people. It's not logical. And it's dangerous to every one of us. The DC, what do people tell me when they come to DC and visit? They tell me it's a beautiful city. They're shocked at how pretty it is, that they never understood that it was so modern, so amazing, that that it has so many benefits. People are just, and when I say benefits, I'm talking about the Smithsonian and all the other museums and the theater, all the other accoutrements that make DC beautiful, and the people. The people. Hey, we got the go-go music. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's all of the things that make DC beautiful. The same thing is true in Chicago. So,
let me ask a question of all. Robert, I think on the break, Barbara, I'm going to have you come in and out one more time with your mic check. Alderman, let me ask you this question. I got a call the other day from Van Jones, and Van asked me the question. Said, how do you answer that there was a reduction in murders and homicides in the District of Columbia as a result of the federal funds?
Congressman, would you repeat that question, please?
The reduction of crime as a result of the federal prison. The reduction of crime as a result of the federal prison.
I heard you say the reduction of crime.
How do you respond to the question of the reduction of crime as a result of the federal prison?
Understandable. First of all, we have continued to see crime go down in the city of Chicago drastically. And a lot of that has to do with the work that we have done with the Chicago Police Department and anti-violence programs and a mayor that gets it. And so there's no correlation between the National Guard and our crime stats when, again, crime is down in the city of Chicago. And if we look across the country, crime is
Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I still hear it.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass is endorsing former Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa for California governor.
We have always believed that the way you bring about change is you do it together. You build coalitions because our issues and our problems are similar.
She says their 52-year friendship and history working together drive her support, even as a crowded field of Democrats enters the race. Singer Miguel revealed he's a father now, sharing a video with his 1-year-old child whose face was blurred. The child's mother, fashion figure Margaret Zhang, directed the video but did not appear in it. And Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley is pressing Fed Chair Jerome Powell to act on rising Black unemployment, especially among Black women. Since February, 319,000 fewer Black women are employed, pushing their jobless rate up 1.3%. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The LA Sparks are facing a must-win situation tonight in Phoenix against the Mercury in the WNBA. They have to win, and the Seattle Storm must lose tonight at home against Golden State. If Seattle beats Golden State, the Sparks will miss the playoffs for the 4th straight year. The Sparks are a game and a half behind Seattle for the 8th and final playoff spot. Grambling has the distinction of being the HBCU team that played in front of the largest crowd Saturday in week 2 of the college football season. Grambling was at number 1 Ohio State, a game that drew 100,624 fans. Grambling lost the game 70-0, but went back to their Louisiana campus with a $1 million check for their percentage of the gate revenues. Number 2 on the attendance list was South Carolina State at South Carolina. That game drew 79,705. South Carolina State lost 38-10, but got a check for $500,000. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Let's go. You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number biggest sale of the year. All beds on sale up to 50% off the limited edition smart bed. Plus free premium delivery with any smart bed and adjustable base. Ends Labor Day. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
You have cancer. The 3 words no one wants to hear. Of the cancers that impact our community, lung cancer is the most dangerous. More people succumb to lung cancer than colon, breast, and prostate combined. Black men are 12% more likely to develop lung cancer, and cases for Black women are rising. Early detection and comprehensive treatment is the best way to beat this dreaded disease. Providence is a research leader in multi-cancer early detection, offering blood tests that identify fast-spreading cancers that don't show symptoms in early stages. The Providence Los Angeles Integrated Network Cancer Program determines best protocols for each patient, interacting with specialists who share experiences, perspectives, and new findings specific to each case. With over 1,000 board-certified physicians, including top oncologists, surgeons, radiologists, and nurse specialists, Providence delivers whole-person care that understands your culture, values, preferences, and priorities. So, if you hear the words, "you have cancer," all you need is faith and providence.org/cancer.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour and on Tenacious Tuesdays is always Barbara Arnwine. Barbara, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Enjoying being here.
I want to thank Dr. Michelle Nichols as well as Alderman Lamont Robinson, both of whom will be back on our program. I want to thank in a very special way for the expertise at this critical hour in the nation's health of Dr. Michelle Nichols for her thoughtfulness in sounding the alarm bell on things that are coming that we cannot see. A germ is very serious business. We all learned that during COVID. And I want to thank Alderman Lamont Robinson, who's going to be spending more time with us in the future. as a result of the federal intervention in Chicago. And I just have such great admiration for him as one of the most thoughtful, young, innovative, careful, and reflective elected officials and public servants in our country at this hour. Thank you both for being on our show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Look forward to having you back. Barbara, let's get to Tenacious Tuesdays for a moment. You shared with us at the very outset of the program, Barbara, that Doha, Qatar has been attacked by Israel in pursuit of Hamas. What are the consequences of that?
It's ugly. I mean, this one is shocking, frankly, but it's not shocking in a way. You know, one thing about power, they always have, what were we taught? We were taught as kids that power, absolute power, corrupts. And there's something very wrong with what we're watching happening in the Middle East right now. And you could tell that, once again, that even the U.S. was caught off guard by this one. Because this is what the U.S. is, one of their strongest partners in the Middle East is, Qatar. And to see the Qatarians, attack this way has to be shocking. Mainly, but hey, if you yourself went and attacked Iran for no darn good reason, talk about you were going to stop the nuclear, bomb being developed when there's no evidence that there was one, on its way anytime soon. When you yourself engage in lies and fictions to just try to show some military strength, then what can you say? I mean, you lose your moral authority. And moral authority does count, people. It's more, geopolitical power is one thing, but moral authority is another one. And the U.S., kind of has been throwing it away by arming the Gaza, genocide and so much else.
Robert, but the Qatari have been instrumental in the peace process. They've advocated for a two-state solution. They've kept both sides together. They've served as a location where Israelis and Palestinians and Hamas can come and have a discussion about the future of the region.
Right.
This attack on Qatar is a profound, how shall I say it, expansion of the crisis to other Arab countries whose resolve could fundamentally be affected by what happened on this day, the unprovoked attack of Israel on the people of Qatar.
It doesn't make any sense. The people of Qatar shouldn't have to, suffer this kind of an attack, and it's going to destabilize the entire region. I mean, there's always, people have always feared the Middle East is the, as the start of World War III. Who knows? But I'll say one thing, that this shows that our, quote, relationship with Israel is not what it's been made out to be. It's not so close.
Barbara, let me pivot to the Louisiana case. The Supreme Court ruled, I believe, this week, or it certainly sent a signal that they're going to expedite the case in Louisiana. Yes. Can you share with us what that means and what its consequences are?
They announced this. They announced this about a month ago that they're expediting the oral argument in Robinson versus Calais. That oral argument is set for October the 15th. Everybody, my organization and the League of Women Voters and others will be setting up a protest outside of the Supreme Court on October the 15th. I'm looking forward to people coming. When I was in Florida and I announced this, I had people in Florida saying we're driving up for it because we want to be on that courthouse step to say, save the Voting Rights Act, because the Voting Rights Act itself is under attack by this Supreme Court. And let me be very clear. There are forces. We know that Thomas and Alito has said, as far as they're concerned, the Voting Rights Act itself is unconstitutional. That will be part of the argument on the 15th. at 10 o'clock. We're arguing for people around the world, around the nation. You can watch and hear, you can hear that argument by going to supremecourt.org. You can actually watch it. And we want people all over the country. We don't expect everybody to be able to come here to DC and join us in our protests, but we certainly hope that you will listen to that argument, that you will go online to supremecourt.org and listen to the argument.
Barbara, how does and I think this is for my edification and everyone's edification, how does an act that for 60 years was held to be constitutional suddenly become unconstitutional in another context? Explain that to us.
It doesn't, folks. It's called the raw power, raw will of the Supreme Court. And you guys got to understand that Trump's threats to all kinds of people in positions of power don't end just at the Congress level, at the congressional level, at the state level. It extends to this very court. Some people in this court are very uncomfortable and scared for many reasons. And so you got to understand that they're just ideologically right-wing, far right-wing, and they hate racial justice issues. They feel that racial justice issues is a zero-sum game, and that white men in particular are going to lose every time Black people, Latino people, or women advance. Period. They believe that stuff, and even though they may be Black, they might be a woman, they still feel like they have to be ideologically aligned with their folks, or their futures may not be what they want.
I'm 60 years old. I was born March 11th, 1965, in the throes of that struggle from Selma to
My
Montgomery.
Lord.
My dad almost wanted to name me Selma. That's how close my birthday was to Bloody Sunday, March 11th, 1965, that entire period when Jimmy Lee Jackson was killed.
Yes.
This is all I've ever known. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 is central to my identity. And to hear that it's to rule me personally to be unconstitutional.
And it's two cases. Be very clear about this. It's not just the Robinson case. There's also the Turtle Mountain case. And the Turtle Mountain case is where they're saying, once again, that the Voting Rights Act is not available to private plaintiffs. Mm-hmm. That if I am discriminated against, called the N-word at a poll, told that I can't vote, I can't file under this theory that the court is going to be taking up. I can't file a private right of action under the Voting Rights Act.
Barbara?
That was created to stop discrimination in voting.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, Rich Nations Tuesdays on the Grind with Barbara Arnwine. More when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase. September is World Alzheimer's Month, a time to shine a light on a public health crisis that deeply impacts Black families. 1 in 5 Black adults ages 70 and older is living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and the risk is twice as high compared to white adults. But AD isn't just forgetting a name or losing track of time. Signs of early AD could be repeating questions, missing appointments, or struggling with bills and daily tasks. These things aren't a normal part of aging. Here's the good news. Treatments are available that may help if AD is diagnosed early. If you notice changes in memory or daily routines, whether in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatalsearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com to learn more about the signs and symptoms and a potential treatment option. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Exciting news, ladies! Always Discreet Boutique Bladder Leak underwear are available in black and printed design. Protect yourself with style. These fit and feel just like real underwear, and they give you up to 0 leaks, 0 odor. Designed for all shapes and sizes, they give you the confidence to be fully yourself. Don't let bladder leaks hold you back. Buy Always Discreet Boutique Bladder Leak underwear now.
You're still grooving, still connecting, still loving, still turning up, still thriving. You still got it, but your immune system, it weakens as you age. That's where vaccines come in. They help train and strengthen your immune response to fight off respiratory illnesses like flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, or COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Book in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Looking forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Tenacious Tuesdays, where we're on the grind with attorney Barbara Arnwine. Barbara is the president of the Transformative Justice Coalition. Barbara, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Barbara, just before the break, we were talking about the Turtle Mountain case.
Yes.
And the 2 cases, the Robinson versus Calais out of Louisiana and Turtle Mountain. Tell us about Turtle Mountain.
Yeah, Turtle Mountain is where the 8th Circuit has said that if you are, and the 8th Circuit covers 7 states, people, including high Black population states like Arkansas. It covers Missouri, St. Louis. It covers, Nebraska, Iowa, South and North Dakota, and it covers Minnesota. And this circuit has held, this court has held, and nobody in those states if you're a person of color and you want to bring an individual case saying I've been discriminated against in voting, you can't do it under the Voting Rights Act. Did you hear me, people? So we actually have a case that a friend of ours has involving a noose that was hung over a polling place entrance, accompanied by, statements of, blacks aren't wanted here, you're not supposed to vote here. And they sued this polling site for operating a racist, discriminatory polling site. And they had this case going, but when this Eighth Circuit decision was made, and 2 years ago, originally in the Arkansas case, Arkansas NAACP case, I should say, when that decision was made, the case got put on hold. Then, when they doubled down after our motion for rehearing, they refused to rehear the case. It was put up for dismissal. So it means that if you have been discriminated against, either in redistricting, either personally, you can't use the Voting Rights Act. When they initially said, oh, well, you might be able to use Section 1983. There's no harm in our jurisprudence because you can still use an alternative. Well, they just this year said, oh, we were wrong. No. That you can't do it. The only person who could bring a case under the Voting Rights Act in our 7 states, and we think it should be nationwide, is the United States Department of Justice. Pam Bundy. Pam Bundy.
That ain't happening.
Come on now, folks. I mean, you can't even trust her to give you an Epstein file.
That ain't happening.
Unredacted. I mean, this is somebody who's just not. She's not going to fight for me. She's not going to fight for you. The Voting Rights Act was intended for us to be able to fight for ourselves because we fought for it.
So, Barbara, if the Voting Rights Act, Barbara, if the Voting Rights Act is struck down,
yes,
the analogy that you just gave, we could find more nooses in and or around polling places, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Yes, that's correct. And remember that the importance of the Voting Rights Act is that some people say, well, there is the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment, but what do they require? They require that if you go into court under the 14th or 15th Amendment, you got to show intent. So they say, oh, well, I just didn't see that news for 3 days early voting. Or they say, I didn't intend for that to offend anybody. We thought it was just a cute little joke that, was, October was coming up and we thought, it would be cute because of Halloween. Remember that under the 14th Amendment, you got to show intent. That they intended to do what they did. Under the Voting Rights Act, you can infer from the circumstances that they knew better.
So let me give you an example. Let me give you another example. I live on the south side of Chicago, right?
Yes.
The northwest side of Chicago, the north suburbs, has 3 jobs for every 1 person. And on the south side of Chicago and the south suburbs, I have in our areas 3 people for every 1 job.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a commuter district. Sometimes we have to keep our polling places open longer because our constituents, overwhelmingly African American, go up north on public transportation
yes,
to work. But you're telling me that constituents who go north, and if the train breaks down or through some circumstance that could be Chicago politics, no buses are working on this route today, or there's an accident or a blockage on the route today, that I have no remedy under the Voting Rights Act of 1965 to say,
hold those places.
Train broke down and would not deliver people who needed to get home after work to vote to the Black community to vote.
No, it's worse than that. If
Oh, wow.
I went to a polling place and they looked at me and said N-word, N-word B, you can't vote here. I couldn't sue under the Voting Rights Act. I couldn't. The very act that was meant to keep discrimination out of voting, I cannot use. I would have to bring a constitutional case and hope that somehow we could show intent and that some governmental agent or person knew about it and did nothing to stop it.
So if polling places,
that's
Barbara,
how bad it is.
Barbara, if polling places in the Black community or rural communities or whatever disenfranchised or vulnerable communities open up late.
Yes.
Open up late. They weren't staffed on time. Instead of opening up at 6 in the morning,
happens all the time.
Opened at 9.
Yes.
You're saying there's no remedy to an individual plaintiff in that case unless Pam Bondi brings the lawsuit.
That's what they're arguing, and that's what we're fighting. And what I want you to know is your dad, all those people who are foot soldiers, all the people who fought for that Voting Rights Act, all those people who walked with John Lewis and Amelia Boynton Robinson and Hosea Williams across that Pettus Bridge, we're working to get all of them on a brief, on an amicus brief, to say we always march because we look for our agency. Just like our feet took us across that bridge, we expected our feet could take us into the courtroom. We never expected that only the Justice Department could somehow hold our interest when this Justice Department had betrayed us over and over and again. We never thought that. And so if you know anybody listening to this show, someone who is a foot soldier, who is living and walked across that bridge, you have to let us know. You can contact me at info@tjcoalition.org. tjcoalition.org.
Barbara, I'll have to let that be the last word. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Until next week, Barbara, we'll cover this again. I promise.
Oh, we must. Thank you.
I look forward to it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass is endorsing former Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa for California governor.
We have always believed that the